Ooh, hey, only 28 minutes.
It's not bad.
Honestly, 26 because I came on 2 minutes late.
It's probably like the shortest in a long
Yeah,
time that we've spent
right?
talking before we started recording.
And that one time we spent an hour and a half for an hour
Yeah.
and 40 minutes. I was like, ooh.
I think it's because we hadn't seen each other or we just had a lot to talk about.
Yep,
I don't remember.
true. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Steph and I are feeling a little tired, a little low
Tired.
energy,
Yes.
right now. So we're not upset. Everything's okay. It's just we're feeling a little low energy. Hopefully these topics pump us up, but I doubt it.
But it's not looking hopeful. That's okay though.
but it's looking like a big fat no.
That's okay though.
So, PS episode, sticking with our theme of talking about different skills in the dialectical behavioral therapy genre. Today, we are going to talk about a skill that is going to help reduce vulnerability towards emotional dysregulation. So
I want you to explain that because
I
we
am.
preach, okay, because
Yeah.
we preach vulnerability as a good thing.
Yes. So what if you think about dialectical behavioral okay. Dialectical behavioral therapy. There are 4 prongs to it. We really don't talk about one of the prongs, which is the crisis survival skills, because for needing to teach crisis survival skills, outpatient therapy is probably not your jam, not where you should be at that moment. So I hone in on core mindfulness, emotional regulation, distress tolerance, kind of the same ballpark. And then, well, we did the one tip skill is a crisis survival skill. So I do teach that a little bit. Anyways, core mindfulness, emotional regulation or distress tolerance, and then interpersonal effectiveness. So core mindfulness is you being aware of yourself, how you're feeling, what your body is going through. So then you can start to recognize maybe some of the cognitive distortions or things that are going on and then change or challenge them accordingly so you can change your behaviors. Emotional regulation is regulating your emotions. And then interpersonal effectiveness is ways to have more effective conversations and meaningful relationships with people. So we're looking at ways to reduce our vulnerability towards emotional regulation. So how I like to explain it to my clients is I want you to think of a cartoon bomb. And I want you to think of the fuse coming off like that curly cue. So the spark, which is the prompting event, is what starts that curly cue burning. But before that spark prompting event even happens, I want you to think about like little Pac-Man guys chomping away at that fuse. So these are these little vulnerabilities that are chomping away and making that fuse shorter and shorter. They're reducing your ability to handle stressful situations, distressing moments, things where you really feel like you're out of control, you can't control your emotions. So we want to reduce the vulnerability to that, reduce the openness to that being a possibility of happening. We want to have that fuse as long as possible, which equates to being patient, being tolerating towards some of these distressing moments. So this is, I think, a very overlooked skill because it's common sense. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't understand how this please skill, which is an acronym, this please skill, how important it is to start with like homeostasis, to start with a baseline. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about it. I'll start.
Okay.
The P is physical illness. So I don't have the book in front of me. Steph is going to help. I left my book at work. So physical illness in my mind is being able to reduce our risk or exposure to physical illness. So it's making sure that we are attempting to keep ourselves in a healthy state or return to homeostasis as much as possible. So that looks like, how do you keep yourself from being sick? As I'm like wiping my nose right now because Sophia brought illness into the house. You don't go outside with a wet head. You dress appropriately for, the season. You make sure you're getting you're hitting these other I don't want to say too much because we're going to hit like the other things in the acronym. So you're attempting to remove yourself from getting physically sick as best as you can. So that could look like taking emergency. It could look like not going out super late. It could look like staying away from maybe large crowds when it's like cold and flu season, washing your hands. So things like that.
It's also just taking like your prescribed medication and supplements that you already take and making sure you're consistent with that, because when you're not, when you're not consistent with your medication, that really fucks things up. And I have a lot of clients that I have to remind. They're like, well, I just missed a couple days. It's like, you can't do that though. Yeah. With antidepressants, you cannot do that.
No, you cannot. You cannot.
That's like a form of that's a form of self-sabotage, because you are affecting your brain functioning ability. It's not like ADHD medication where if you don't have a lot going on that day, you don't have to take it. That's fine. Right. SSRIs, SNRIs, you cannot do that.
100%. And I wholeheartedly recognize when I don't take my probiotics or when I don't take my vitamins on a regular basis. Like I just filled up my vitamins before. That's probably why I'm so tired. It's all that work I did packing my 7-day organizer. But I was filling up my vitamins and I was thinking about my probiotics, and there's a new one that I found that I'm going to order. But in my mind, I'm like, man, I used to be so on top of it with my vitamins. And I feel like the past 6 months, I've kind of been slipping. So I was kind of paying attention to that too, of like, if there are moments where I'm really not feeling myself, where I really am struggling with like my mental image or my body image or, whatever's going on, I really start to review some of the things that were staples to me. And like, am I still doing those things? Am I keeping up on it? Like, what does that look like? So I definitely was like, oh shit, let me go do that.
Yes. And also that it's the P and the L because they underline the L in physical. So
yeah, physical, P and L.
Yes. The next one is E. So balance eating. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too little. Eat regularly and mindfully. Stay away from foods that make you feel like shit.
Yeah.
In the workout group that I'm in, Burns talks a lot about like what foods make you feel like a saddie and what foods make you feel like a baddie, right? Like there are some foods that I know if I eat it, don't ask me to do anything afterwards. I'm tired. I don't feel good. My stomach hurts. I'm bloated. I feel like shit, right? Yep. Paying attention to that and understanding, like, sure, you could make the choice to eat it, knowing full well I'm going to feel like shit afterwards. That's a choice.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
Versus filling up on something that's full of protein or fiber or fats that's like a healthy balance of all those things and feeling like energized. And I feel like I can go throughout my day and, things like that. It just takes practice to figure out what those are. And that's another example of like writing things down
and being mindful.
Yes. And taking note of, okay, how do I feel after I eat ice cream? How do I feel after I eat fucking Doritos? How do I feel after I drink milk? Like just being aware of what you're putting in your body and how you feel.
Wholeheartedly. And being able to understand that there's balance and moderation in everything. So if you know that it's something that you love, but doesn't necessarily feel good for you, and I'm not talking about eating something that goes against like a modified food diet that you should have, that to me is dangerous. That's not like, I'm just going to sample it. Like that's dangerous. So if it's something that you know that you can eat, it just makes you not feel great, then planning yourself and your eating habits around that, like eat, 80-20 throughout the week, being able to have salads, have balanced meals and whatnot. And then on Saturday, when you're not doing much and you're just going to be home, eat the thing that maybe makes you a little bit tired so that it's not interfering with anything. Because then usually what happens is we get into this self-shame spiral of like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have eaten that, blah, 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 blah. And then it goes 0 to 100 from there.
Or you're like, well, I already fucked up my day, so I'm just gonna eat like shit the rest of the day.
Right.
And then you feel like triply like shit.
Yeah, and then you wake up feeling like shit. Yeah. Okay. The A is so like the last one, I'm just looking on my little cheat sheet. My last one was eat healthy. So Steph, let me know what it is. But mine says avoid drugs.
Yep. Avoid mood altering substances.
So avoid mood altering substances. So if you are using drugs that aren't prescribed to you, that alter moods, you have to be aware and understand that is, one, potentially dangerous, but two, going to play a part. Like, it's going to play a part in your mood, how you're functioning, how you feel. I can't tell you how many people, how many clients I see. If I had a nickel for every time a client told me that they smoked weed because it helps them calm down or they feel less anxious, I'd be a fucking millionaire. I'd be a millionaire. And then if I had,
booze, by the way.
hey, yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm just harping on this first. I will get to drinking. If I had a penny for every time I said, that's going to create issues. I understand that you think that that is something that is helpful. Here's reasons as it is how it's not. And they were like, I would be a billionaire off of pennies. Like, what you have to understand, people, is one, it's going to alter your moods, your state of mind that you're in, even if you're growing it yourself, which I would say 99.999% of the time you aren't. So then that drug, whatever, and it's a drug, obviously, is being cut with something. You don't know what it's being cut with. How fucking dangerous is that? And I'm not saying that you can't do things that you think that you like or enjoy, but then please do not come in and say, well, I don't know why I feel like shit. Well, if you're smoking every day or vaping every day or drinking every day or popping pills or substances or something like that every day, there's a reason as to why you don't feel good. Those, one, weren't prescribed for you, and or two, aren't being monitored. And if you're using them as a coping skill, it's just unhealthy to begin with. That's not helping you cope with anything. That's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. Like, you're bleeding out. You're just numbing yourself out to whatever is going on. And if you numb yourself out to the negative, you will not see the positive or the rebound or the recovery. You can't selectively numb things.
And
as
complicated perspective on smoking weed. Do I think that it can help with anxious thoughts or like with ADHD, hyperactive brain? I do. Do I think it can help depression? Absolutely not, because it is a depressant. Like, you will stay depressed. It will depress you even more. So it's not even like a battle that I'm willing to have with clients, especially if they're set on that they're going to, like, that's a choice. I'm not here to convince you to stop. I'm just here to let you know, like, this is what I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the information that I can give you, and you do with it what you want.
Yep, 100%. I can't control whether somebody smokes. The same goes for, we live in one of the biggest drinking states in the United States.
Yep.
So I can't control whether or not somebody drinks. I'm the same way with drinking. I can only give you the information as to, like, here's the thing. If it's the same across the board. If you're drinking half a fifth of vodka a night or a handle of vodka a night, if you're smoking a fat blunt, if you're taking, a fucking Xanny bar, if you're eating a whole sleeve of cookies, choose your vice.
Yep.
I'm going to point out the fact that that's going to be a factor as to why you don't feel good. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's up to you if you want to do that shit.
Correct.
But let's call a spade a spade. Like, I can acknowledge when I drink too much and wake up the next morning and I'm like, wow, okay. Like, I recognize why I am anxious the next day, or why I don't feel motivated the next day, why I don't feel motivated. It's not, it comes and goes. Or why I don't want to do anything, or why my day went to shit. I can acknowledge that. So I just reality accept where I'm at. Okay. I had a great time with my friends. It's not something I do all the time. I don't go out that much. This is my payment for that. And then I can recognize, like, hey, maybe it's something to look into the next time, of like, okay, maybe I alternate with water, or maybe I don't do that. Or maybe I say no next time because it really wasn't, like, it was fun. Yes. But was it worth this? No.
Sure.
You have the self-awareness then to understand that doesn't feel good. I'm not using it to numb something, though, because that's where it starts to get hard to have that reality acceptance. Because if you're using it to numb shit, you don't have that self-awareness. Because you're trying to not be self-aware. You are actively pursuing the opposite.
Well, and that's how addiction happens. It's just the little bit isn't working anymore. You have to go to something else or go to more. It's a very slippery slope, and it's
so slippery.
It also comes with mindfulness, right? I could acknowledge it when I was drinking a lot. It's because I didn't want to fucking think about anything or feel anything, and drinking felt better until I stopped. And then I was like, wow, my body feels significantly better without drinking.
Yeah, it's wild. It is. It's wild. When I was drinking entirely too much in 2016, 2017. Well, it was like 2015, 2016. And then realizing, like, I get so much accomplished now. Yeah. Look at how much savings I have. Look at what I'm able to do. All this shit I'm able to do now. Yeah.